The new Department of Community-Based Natural Resources Management, CBNRM, has had to hit the ground running to give life to a new act and new regulations, which says a lot about the man who is at the helm of the organization, Mr. Kealeboga Kemoreile. He's been charged, first of all, with establishing the department while attending to the backlog of issues affecting communities. Today we engage him to find out just how he's coping with the huge expectation of helping communities benefit from natural resources in the midst of this ailing economy. Now, before we proceed, don't forget to subscribe, to share, so that we are able to spread the message even further. This is Wild BW. The podcast is meant by Oshinga Tsiang. It's Kemoreile, not Kemoreile, right?
Thank you.
Because sometimes people, mistake your name and just put the W in it. But you are Kealeboga Kemoreile.
Yes, sir.
Welcome so much, sir, to the Wild BW podcast, and thank you so much for agreeing to talk to us.
Yeah.
Perhaps you can just start by giving us your background, your profile, because you are the man who's been tasked with establishing this CBNRM, the Community-Based Natural Resources Management Department. It's a totally new department. Okay. So please just give us your profile in terms of why are you the right person for this this organization?
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Tsiang. As introduced, Kealeboga Kemoreile, the new director for the Department of Community-Based Natural Resources Management, effective 1st April 2026. In terms of my professional background, I'm a forester by profession, and I joined agriculture under the then Department of Crop Production and Forestry, before then it transformed into a Department of Forestry and Range Resources under the then Ministry of Environment and Tourism. I want to believe that I'm a pioneer to this sector, because we are the crop of officers who established the department, like I said, and the ministry itself. Mm-hmm. Apart from that, I come from a background where I was part of important milestones in terms of natural resources management. And the first notable achievement that I can talk to is the issue of the development or being part of the development of the Okavango Delta Management Plan, because we're part of the reference group, mm-hmm. and which talked more about how the delta can be conserved under the Ramsar Convention. And also I had an opportunity to be part of the development of the Makgadikgadi management plan, which also talks about natural resources management and how communities can best be able to benefit from the resources that they live close to. After that, I transitioned into the land sector from the period of 2010 mm-hmm. up to 2025, where I was at some stage the sub-land board secretary, still in Buteti area, before I was promoted to a position of the land board secretary. Wow. In one of the areas which I take are very, very important when it comes to the subject that we will be discussing today, that is community natural resources management. Mm. And during that tenure, I was able to really spearhead another important instrument, being the development of the Chobe Integrated Land Use Management Plan, where now you want to bring in all the different interests and manage them and put them into a plan that will guide the land use planning in Chobe district. And I want to believe from the background of natural resources management and that of land management, those two experiences and backgrounds, they give me that leverage to be where I am. being given this task of leading such an important
And
task.
both of these speak directly to people's to livelihoods,
Yes.
to people on the ground.
No, definitely. Because when you talk about community-based natural resources management, the foundation is communities being given land user rights to be able to use the resources that are there. And that means you need to have very good rapport with those who are given the responsibility for land management, and also have very good rapport with those who are dealing with natural resources in their diversity, be it wildlife, be it forest and range resources. Yeah.
You come into this department at a time when the Act has just been promulgated. The regulations are now just about to be put into place. And it's a totally new structure. What are your priorities?
I think the first thing that really is in the forefront is the establishment of the department itself. Because in terms of the Act, it has now pronounced that there will be an institution of that nature, given specific roles as described in the Act. And the fact that it's a new institution, it means then it starts from even recruitment of staff and making sure that we mobilize the resources so that the department is able to deliver on its mandate, and then trying to establish the linkages and establishing those stakeholders who play a very critical role in terms of the delivery of the mandate of the department. And some of the most important stakeholders are those that deal with land management, deal with forest and range resources management, wildlife management, and then others that are found at district level in terms of under the stewardship of the Office of the District Commissioner. That will be the first priority that readily comes to mind. Secondly, like you said, there's now a new Act and with its own regulations, which are still at a development stage. The expectation is that with the new Act, because it's a new instrument that will now be used to deliver the CBNRM program, it now needs to be put in motion in terms of its implementation. And before you do that, you need to develop the regulations. Therefore, priority number 2 will be to finalize that process of development of the regulations, because they are the one that will now help in putting the Act into practice. The second priority the third priority that I can talk to is how then do we reshape the implementation of the CBNRM program, particularly looking at the different players who have been in this space for some time. Because you have your communities under the stewardship of the Board of Trustees. You have different structures, both at district level under the leadership of the Office of the District Commissioner. And we have structures that such as the technical advisory committees, who are supposed to now do the facilitative work so to ensure that the CBOs work more efficiently, let alone other departments that play a critical role, like I said, those that need to be brought into a space and be able to function more efficiently to deliver the program as is. So in a nutshell, these are now the key priorities in terms of starting from where we are moving forward, not forgetting the most important task of migrating these organizations from the Ministry of Justice under the leadership of the Master of the High Court now to be able to be administered under the CBNRM Act. So broadly speaking, those will now be the most important priorities for now.
Do you have resources to be able to do all these things? Or are you still trying to see where you can pinch, where you can get help and so forth and so forth?
It's a bit unfortunate that maybe we are establishing an organization of this importance under very trying times, because you now start talking about mobilization of resources such as human manpower. And but we know that government has a policy of zero growth in terms of its own manpower to cut the wage bill. And then we also have issues that talk to other resources in terms of office space, other issues like the finances, and as we are all aware, we are now having problems in terms of the economic situation of the country, not just locally, but even globally. So now these are some of the challenges that we have to traverse as we try to establish the department.
Okay. And so, in fact, especially since we are now looking at the challenges that you are facing, how are you then able to manage the expectations? Because presumably when you have a new department and you get into a space where there has been a lot of activities and there's been a backlog of expectations. How do you manage these expectations?
Okay. I think because we are a new institution, but there's been arrangements that have been in place before in terms of how the program has been run and the resources that have been put in. Because as you will recall, it has been under the support and the guidance of the Department of Wildlife and National Parks. It is upon these existing structures that, at least for now, we'll be trying to leverage because to try and deal with capacity limitations. Apart from that, I think when you look at the natural resources management sector, or even the tourism sector, if I may to extend to that, there are a lot of people who are interested in that space, so much that in terms of if you get into an opportunity to sort out the kind of limits that you have, they are always willing and ready to come on board in terms of the support, be it expertise, be it financial wise. So some of these things, they give us the motivation that though there are some issues that I have highlighted, we still have that window or an opportunity to ensure that we are able to deliver on the mandate that our customers are expecting.
And you are talking about diverse communities,
yes, sir.
You know, from urban areas to the very rural, the hunting communities, those that are focusing on biodiversity, cultural communities, and so forth and so forth.
Yeah.
How do you reconcile the work? How do you ensure that you are able to be to deliver to expectations of this diverse group of people?
Okay. It has never been easy to deal with divergent interests and expectations like we have put. But I want to believe that the only route through which we can be able to deliver the mandate that has been tasked to us by government, the starting point will be to be as open and as engaging as we possibly can. So that, number one, we understand the different expectations and interests, like we have said, and then be able to identify the different concerns from the different stakeholders or these interest groups, so that at some stage we are able to bring together, hopefully, all those to a situation whereby we are able to manage those divergent interests. So for me, it starts from, that's where it starts, that the more we engage, which in my opinion, it has not been done more efficiently in the past, we should be able to a certain extent, be able to deal with the issues and be able to address some of the issues that have been bedevling the program.
And there could be diverse issues. And fortunately, you coming from a land background as well.
Yes, sir.
And you have issues, for example, in the Ngamiland area where there's a whole problem of land allocations that impacts on tourism.
Okay. It's very true that that is the general observation that we have also identified. But the root cause might be a lack of engagement and interactions in terms of what the different stakeholders expect and how they conduct their business. That's why I was emphasizing that it's very, very important that right from the beginning we try and bridge that gap so that the mentality of working in silos and not understanding what are the priorities for the different sectors of government is we find a way to deal with because experience has taught us that we do have the way we want things to proceed, but because of the limited interactions between the different government institutions, that's where the program really starts from.
Which means you, even as the head of this organization, has got to be quite visible.
Yeah. That is very true. I think that is why, from a department standpoint, we have really picked up on that issue. And as I'm conversing with you, the department is now trying to come up with a robust stakeholder engagement and communication plan so that we try by all means to bridge the gaps that we have identified, because we have seen that the mandate of the department traverses different organizations, either private or government. So it's very, very important that as we proceed forward, we are able to identify who we need to talk to, what are the issues to talk to, and what are the expectations that should come from such interactions.
From purely a vision and focus point of view, the work that you do you see more as a business facilitation or a development issue? What is it? How are you able to encapsulate it in order for you to be able to, so to speak, manage it and categorize the actions that you need to take to achieve what you would like to achieve?
Okay. I'm tempted to say it has aspects of both, but leaning more into community development and promoting socio-economic standing of our local communities. Because when you look at the program itself, it has been crafted in such a manner that it empowers communities to make their own decisions in terms of the resources that are found to them by being given user rights. And then the business aspect only comes in because somewhere in the mix, there's always an element of engaging private partnerships, mostly investors who will come and develop tourism enterprises in partnerships with these different communities. So that is why I'm saying it has both aspects of business and sustainable economic development.
And then, of course, there's the element of conservation as well in there, because we are looking primarily at resources that needs to be conserved, need to be taken care of. Yes, where's your role in there?
I think our role comes in because the fact that we are managing these entities called community-based organizations, there is a very strong element that as one of the functions of the department is to ensure that there is conservation of natural resources. And though you find that the resources might be diverse and the roles and responsibilities might lie at different government organs, it is our main responsibilities to coordinate that part. Because at the end of the day, we do have what we term land use management plans where these communities operate. So as part of our mandate is to ensure that those are in place, and then we make sure that there's tracking in terms of the implementation of such management plans. It is our considered view that if you are able to manage that arrangement and be able to really produce tangible results, ultimately we should be able to improve natural resources management in the process.
You spoke of the migration of these organizations, the CBOs, or the trust, from the Department of Justice to now come under the ambit of the Act. How's that going, and are there timelines to it? Because even as we speak, especially when you talk about the fact that they have to renew their registration on a yearly basis. How's the transfer going from that ministry to your ministry going?
Okay. I want to believe we are progressing well based on the fact that the mere fact that we got the act approved and then we are sort of at the tail end of the production of the CBNRM regulations, and the fact that we have even managed to touch base with the master who has been the custodian of all these records as recent as last week Friday, where we discussed the modalities and gained experiences and then lessons learned in terms of how they've been managing the community trusts, and then in terms of appreciating the processes that they've been doing so that we are able to fine-tune such business processes. I want to believe we are almost at a stage where I can confidently say we are progressing well. But in terms of the timelines, we have set ourselves until the end of this month that all other instruments that we will be using to govern or be able to run the program should be completed. And then in addition to that, you will recall that there might be issues relating to a transition period, which the Act defines it as 12 months. So technically, the moment the regulations are signed by the Honorable Minister, that will be the time as per the discussions that now we can start counting in terms of that 12 months. So technically, that will be the period that we should have completed the transition from migrating them from the master's office to the department in that fashion.
So there could be a kind of a natural window of leniency from the time the Act became effective to based on when the regulations come into place.
Yes, sir.
All right. We'll continue with the next question. Just in case you've just tuned in, this is Wild BW Podcast, and just don't forget to share, to even subscribe, and also know that every Tuesday we do have a comment on the Tuesday Grill. You can go there and also find our content so that you are able to be fully informed concerning issues of conservation and tourism in this country. We are today having a conversation with Kemoreile, who is the new director of the Department of CBNRM in the Ministry of Environment and Tourism. And we are discussing the implementation on the work that his department is doing. Kemoreile, there has been, you'll come at a time when there has been an outcry concerning governance when it comes to CBOs. How are you handling that? How are you ensuring that that does not become a stumbling block, not only in the efficiency of the department that you are heading, but really in achieving what the government wants to achieve, and that is by ensuring that communities clearly benefit from the resources that they are custodians of?
Okay. Maybe I should highlight that it has always been an issue of concern in terms of how the CBOs manage their affairs, and because you note that we have a program that has been sort of put forward to our rural communities, and most of the people who are in charge of such a program not necessarily have the requisite skills, particularly when it comes to issues of governance, because when you talk about governance, it's about determining who makes decisions, how they make them, and how do they account for such decisions that they make. And those three aspects has always been traditionally, or from experience, they seem to have been lacking since the program started its inception stage. So by the advent of the law and then possibly the regulations, these are some of the loopholes that we are trying to close, not necessarily taking over the responsibilities for the communities to manage their affairs. I think that is what prompted to have the CBNRM Act and its associated regulations. But to further improve issues of governance, there are other instruments that we can use these community-based organizations, they have constitutions that should be able to manage how they run their day-to-day affairs. That is why somewhere in our proposed regulations, we are talking about coming up with a model constitution that is supposed to now guide and standardize how things are done, so that when you go to CBOA or you go to CBOB, the processes and the running of affairs should be similar. In addition to that, I think it's one of the key issues that we have picked, that issues of governance and how CBOs manage themselves is one of the key areas that we really need to build capacity.
There's also an issue of, corruption, or alleged corruption, if you like, which normally, descends into court cases, into money missing, and all sorts of things. How are you going to plug that hole?
Okay. Issues of corruption, I think in every scenario there's always a corruptor and a corruptee, which I believe if we close off issues of really tightening in terms of the implementation of the Act itself, the Constitution, re-looking and redefining the Constitution, and also possibly looking at coming up with other instruments like the Code of Conduct for those who are given the responsibility to run these affairs on behalf of the community. We want to believe that that should be able to close that gap. But of course, corruption will always happen in one form or another. But we anticipate that there should be a situation where the levels of corruption should really come down if we are able to deal with issues of governance.
It seems to me that there is a kind of feeling sometimes that perhaps there's a lot of top-down approach to the management of communities, especially when they look to, when the Act talks about the TAC, the Technical Advisory Committee, which seems to be a little bit of a niggling issue with some communities. Is it a fair judgment from the communities themselves to think that maybe the TACs are overreaching, or they are an overkill from government?
Okay. It depends on which side you are sitting in. Because when you look at the concept behind technical advisory committees, like the phrase says, they are there to provide advice. And sometimes whoever is given that advice might have that conception that there might be overreach in terms of how the advice is being rendered. But at the end of the day, the understanding is that those who composed such a structure, there are people who know procedures and are able to advise competently in terms of both their professional backgrounds and in as far as the affairs of the CBOs are concerned. So that is why there's such a structure, so that as you pool these resources and this expertise, there should be people who should be able to advise our CBOs in terms of how best they can run their affairs. But like I said, it's a perception that somebody who might feel that if you are asked to account, maybe somebody can easily interpret that to be an outreach.
So
overreach.
There's no need to worry. As far as
I'm concerned, the Act, when you read it carefully, it uses words that are more modest in terms of the technical advisory committees are supposed to facilitate, oversee and advise. But we are not disputing that in that process there might be certain officers or individuals who might overstep their mandate. But it is our responsibility as a department to ensure that TACs know where their role starts and where their role ends.
Okay. Do you think the Act itself is empowering, or could it have been done better? Are there clauses in it that perhaps you think could have been done better? I know it is, that train has passed.
Okay.
And the only thing that you can think of, if there needs to be any amendments, is after some time. Okay. But when you look at it now, because it is being implemented, and the test of the pudding is in the eating, as they say. But when you look at it from the person who's going to have to now administer it,
Okay.
is it something that you think is sufficient?
Okay. I'm tempted to say that each time you come up with a legislation, you wouldn't necessarily address each and every bidding platforms that might happen to be there. But the Act as it is now, I think it has covered most of the critical issues because the thinking behind it is to try and bring orderliness in terms of the affairs or how the CBOs have been running their affairs without not necessarily assuming or those functions and powers that the CBOs have. But of course, they will always, as you on the benefit of hindsight, when you look at it, you might find that there might be certain areas that the Act didn't address. But with the understanding that it's a very broad framework that is being used, you still have an opportunity in terms of your formulation of the regulations to try and deal with some of the gaps that you might have identified. And like you said, after a certain period, you might even revisit the document itself and see if you can be able to plug some of the issues. But the only observations that we pick during our consultations on both the two documents will be that there was not much that is being said in terms of the relationships and the inner workings of the joint venture partnerships or the business relationships between the CBOs and the potential investors. I think that is something that, as we move forward, it might need to be re-looked into, possibly during the review of the Act itself.
Well, there's always a honeymoon for any administration, and but the fact is with the introduction of the CBNRM Act, CBNRM Act, and with the establishment of a new department, you would expect some kind of reaction from the communities, or at least the public at large, who are going to be, quote unquote, operating under these circumstances. How is the mood? How are communities actually receiving the fact that there seems to be real intentionality about ensuring that communities do benefit from their natural resources?
Okay. I would safely say it's a mixed bag in terms of the reactions, in the sense that there are those who are very receptive in terms of the Act and be able to appreciate the intended outcomes of having such an instrument, particularly when they reflect on the issues of poor governance, poor management of finances, and just general running of the affairs of the community-based organizations. That having an Act and that stipulates how business is going to be run, that is a welcome development, and some of the proposals or even the provisions therein. But there will always be another group that will be in the contrary, in the sense that you'll find that there are those who might feel, like you have mentioned, there's sort of an overreach. But the perception comes from the fact that they now have to account for the business that they are conducting, the affairs of running the CBOs, in terms of providing regular reports and taking full accountabilities of the different decisions that they take. I think, but all in all, it's a mixed bag in terms of the reactions in terms of that. But I want to believe as we implement it and then people now realize the full intentions behind this, possibly the perceptions could be changed into a positive side.
Well, and the other thing that is clear is that this is an area which impacts on a host of other activities. Like we're talking about tourism, we're talking about even the green economy. You're talking about even land use. You're talking about, there are so many other potential stakeholders within this space, including governance. How do you pull all these things together? Because in the final analysis, somehow all of them are going to end, or on your desk?
Okay. I think the starting point will be how best as a department we are able to play that role of coordination in terms of clearly identifying who has a stake in the mandate of the department, and then how do we bring in so that they play an active role in terms of ensuring that, or facilitate, or even assisting the department to play its role. I'm not saying it's going to be an easy feat, but through regular interactions and through regular engagements, we want to believe that should be able to improve the situation. The other aspect which I think will become very, very important will be the issues of resuscitating old structures that were there, or even introducing new ones, so that at both the local level, meaning districts, we are able to establish structures that are able to bring all these departments that play a critical role, because they are the ones who are on the ground. Then such structures should be able to include those who are affected, being the communities themselves, and those that do business with them, so that as we dialogue and engage, at least we are able to address issues promptly and collectively. And we want to believe that at national level, there used to be other forums that used to be there, the way issues were articulated and ventilated, and such forums need now to be resuscitated, so that as we move forward, everybody can have be held accountable in terms of delivery of the mandate and their input in ensuring that the department succeeds.
Because there's a possibility of creating maybe too many layers of bureaucracy,
Yes, sir.
or even too many layers of contact, that end up becoming a delay in terms of service delivery or expectations of the communities themselves. For example, the licensing, if they have to, to get some kind of tourism license, or even issues of quotas that are set elsewhere, and so forth and so forth. But ultimately, all of these would have to come to your desk. So wouldn't it be easier to create a kind of a one-stop shop?
Okay. Yeah, that could work. I want to believe it wouldn't be a foreign or a new concept, because even before there were concepts and ideas that were floated around, issues of land banking and others. But I want to believe, as we closely monitor the implementation of the Act, and as the department evolves, of course, there will be certain responsibilities that we can take, because it's not necessarily our mandate. But we can be able to create arrangements that can be able to bring all the parties together on a regular basis, so that any pertinent issues that are there that need to be addressed can be addressed. I think in the same model as we have under the Botswana Economic Transformation Program, because its whole concept is premised around bringing people under one roof and be able to deal with issues.
But you would also have to really have a good working relations with your colleagues in other sectors, both land, tourism, forestry, the Department of Wildlife and National Parks, and so forth and so forth. You would have to have a really cohesive relationship in order to be able to support the communities.
Yes, sir. No, that goes without doubt. And I want to believe with the support of the ministry management, and even if we are able to adopt some of the initiatives that are there and sort of customize them to our level. Like I mentioned, the concepts that are used around the Botswana Economic Transformation Act, where you bring in all those who are critical stakeholders if there's an issue. I want to believe that you'll be able to go a long way in assisting us to deliver our mandate.
As we gravitate towards our conclusion, Kemoreile, what would you define as success factors when you look at the mandate of this department, when you look at the facilitation of the communities, what would you like the communities to, at the end of the day, say, for you to say you've been successful?
Okay. The most important and fundamental issue or change that I would like to see, or I would use that as a yardstick, will be an improvement of the governance of existing CBOs, because that's where most of the issues really center around issues of governance, issues of really CBOs be able to run themselves more efficiently. I think that's why, like I said, we have prioritized that as one of the key issues, so that at least for the CBOs that are in existence as we speak, at least they improve the way they run their affairs. And the other one will be, you realize that currently there's most of the CBOs, they tend to lean more into exploitation of wildlife resources. But there are others who might not necessarily be blessed with such resources, but they have others that they can now look into to exploit. Already there are examples of such resources earning certain individuals a lot of money, be it your pani, be it your firewood. So as much as we look at the CBOs as they are, it will be very important that over the years there could be other an expansion of CBOs in terms of type and in terms of the resources that they are exploiting. And then the other issue will be issues that deal with the financial management, if we find a long-lasting solution, so that CBOs are able to get what is worth their resources, as opposed to the situation whereby now they are at the mercy of those whom they negotiate with. And be able to take those resources and invest them at local level and be able to see projects that they can talk to, which are the results of such financial resources or the funds that came through the program. For me, that will be a big achievement, because for now, it is very difficult, except on isolated cases where you are able to see other enterprises that sprang out of the program, that we are able to, they might not necessarily be tourism related, but as spin-off projects that were able to be developed because of the program itself. For me, that will be one of the biggest achievements, which I think going forward we can be able to demonstrate the efficacy of the program and be able to demonstrate to whoever, be it local or even international or people coming from outside, that the program really has uplifted the lives of Botswana in this particular way.
So your predicament really would be the resources in terms of actually empowering the communities to come to a point where you can say they're functioning like they're supposed to function.
I would say so, but when you look at the resources, there are several ways of looking at it. Either they might be coming from government support, or coming from our development partners, or even the communities themselves, because there's nothing wrong with them reinvesting some of the financial resources that they generate in order to improve how they do things in terms of governance, be it if there are issues of capacity building. They shouldn't even be looking outside when they have an opportunity to reinvest that money, because they would have realized the importance of undertaking such activities, so that at the end they're able to function more efficiently. Yeah.
I was tempted to bring in the issue of balancing between, because we do have an issue of the sustainable use policy of our natural resources, which leads us to hunting. And you obviously have to be also in the eye of the storm when it comes to the debates between, hunting tourism and ecotourism, and this clash. And are you concerned about that, even in the CBNRM?
I am, because when you talk about consumptive tourism, it has always been very controversial subject. Right from the starting point of negotiating for quota setting and actually even undertaking consumptive management of wildlife resources. Because there are always a lot of lobby groups, anti-hunting groups, but one should not lose sight of the fact that we have always practiced the two, both the non-consumptive and consumptive use of wildlife resources. So as we move forward, I think as a ministry in general, we might need to now come up with a strategy in terms of how then do we manage such opposing and opposite forces, so that at the end of the day, we are able to clearly demonstrate that in Botswana, we practice sustainable, consumptive management of our resources, and these are the benefits that we can demonstrate in terms of what we can derive from undertaking such activities.
But you wouldn't want that to derail you from the bigger mandate of the CBNRM?
No. But most definitely it will always crop up its head in terms of how, because we are talking about the utilization of resources for the benefit of the communities, and hunting is one of them. So it's just a matter of making sure that we manage the different expectations, like you said, for those who are pro and then for those who are against in that fashion.
Kemoreile, thank you so very much for making time to talk to us. Perhaps there is something that you want to share with us that perhaps you believe that it's important that the communities understand, especially with regard to the mandate of this CBNRM new department that you are heading.
Okay. I think going forward, because there are so many things that are happening at the same time, we have made an undertaking that it's very imperative that we introduce the department to our local communities in terms of what is the mandate of the department, and then talking to them in terms of the acts or the legal instruments that we are using, so that they are able to appreciate that these two instruments that are there to facilitate the program and ensure that at the end of the day, there are some benefits that can be derived, and then there has to be a very clear mandate and roles and responsibilities in terms of the different players, particularly on the community side, that these instruments have been introduced to ensure that people are better able to manage their affairs, so that we don't have a lot of wastages that we cannot be able to account. But as a new department, for now we might be struggling a bit. But like I said, the responsibility has been given within other sister departments within our ministry. It will be something that we need to look into to ensure that there's no interruption in terms of service delivery to our CBOs, and we should be able to facilitate that. But of course, we will always be in the forefront in terms of making sure that we do what our local communities and CBOs expect from the department.
Thank you so very much for taking time to come to talk to us. I believe we will continue to engage even as this beast is unfolding, to really see how it's actually managing to actually ensure that our communities do benefit from their natural resources. And also, quite importantly, the conservation of these resources, because at the end of the day, it's about how you stay sustainable as a country in terms of the natural resources.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Well, there you have it. That was Mr. Kealeboga Kemoreile, the director of the new Department of Community-Based Natural Resources Management. And he was explaining to us how they are now putting together not only just policies in terms of getting the act and the regulations to become now implemented in the running of the community services, community issues. And also remember that was Wild BW podcast. We will meet again next time. Don't forget to share, to also subscribe, so that we can get the message much, much further. Thank you so much for watching.